All right. Well, I think we're live now on YouTube. Well, hello, everybody. Sorry, I'm just clicking share on Facebook and Twitter and all those other social networks. Tonight's show, which starts in about a minute, is all about Google Photos. We've got the Google Photos team here. Thomas Hawk is here. And the big news has been about Google acquiring Nik Software. So we'll get into that and just generally have some Google Photos talk. We'll be taking live questions from the audience and all kinds of cool stuff happening tonight. Thomas, what's going on with you? Over.
You're muted. You're muted.
Thomas Hawk, my professional co-host there in the San Francisco area.
We're still pre-show.
Yes, we're still pre-show.
Hello,
Thomas. Over.
There you go. You're good. You're good now, Thomas.
All right. I was muted there for a second.
Oh, I thought you might be in the middle of another controversial blog post.
No. Nothing. No more controversy for me. I'm turning over a new leaf this year.
I've heard you say that about half a dozen times, and the next week you drop some bomb on the internet.
No. The internet and I are on good terms again.
5 seconds.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is show number 52, if you can believe it, like a year-long anniversary. It's been a great 52 episodes. We've had a bunch of crappy ones in there. I apologize for those. We'll try to make up for it tonight with tonight's episode because this is going to be a great one. The big news is that Google has acquired Nik Software, and we had planned already to have the Google Photos team on tonight just to talk about Google Photos in general, but we'll of course touch on this news and this sort of thing. And also I'm very lucky to have Thomas Hawk here. I know he and I are really interested in this recent turn of events, and we've both written kind of a lengthy blog post and analysis about what's happening. So we'll discuss all that tonight. In addition, we'll be taking everyone's live questions. If you go to stuckincustoms.com, we have this thing on there called Google Moderator, and I'm going to show you how you can use that in just a minute so you can ask questions too, and we'll be looking at these things live. And since we've got all these great minds here from Google, we'll be able to answer as many questions as we can squeeze into the show. And then as always, at the end, we share Google Plus photographer discoveries. These are people that we think you ought to circle up and follow, and I'm always finding new people, and I'm sure everyone else here is as well, and it's kind of a good way to kind of share the circle of love. All right, well, let's get started quickly here with our introductions. First, not that everyone doesn't already know him, but Thomas Hawk. Hello, Thomas.
Hello, Trey. It's been too long since I've seen you on my balcony.
Yeah, that was. It sounds a little Romeo and Juliet, though, like yeah. You lowered your golden locks, and I climbed up to have a cappuccino.
Something like that. It was nice. Yeah. It's good to be back home for you.
Yes, I'm here in my cozy little fortress of solitude in Queenstown. I've got my fire rumbling in the background, and I was just saying before that I.
No. Uh-oh, was he just bragging about his internet speed over there?
I think that's what he was going to start talking about.
Well, maybe he will be back. Well, in the meantime, for those of you that are joining us late, we had an exclusive scoop tonight, and that is that Vincent Mo and Dave Cohen announced the sale price for Nik Software to Google. No,
yeah, you got the email I sent you, right?
Yes, $1 billion. $1 billion.
That's a lie.
You heard it here first. $1 billion. They had to top what Facebook paid for Instagram. So $1 billion and $1. No, I'm kidding.
Everything Thomas Hawk says may or may not be true.
Trey, while you were gone, you missed it. Dave Cohen told us the price that Google paid for Nik. $1 billion, $1 billion and $1. $1.
Oh my gosh.
I think it was the square root of pi billion.
Well, did they confirm the rumor that the reason that Vic and Google bought Nik Software is so that they could rename it Vic Software?
Yes.
I thought so. I thought so transparent. So transparent. Well, so did these Google gentlemen get to introduce themselves in my absence?
Well, we waited because nobody can see anything when you're not in.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And he's back.
Oh, this is strange. I even switched from Chrome, which is usually bulletproof, to Safari. I don't know.
Oh, on Safari on a Mac, I think you'll drop after 30 seconds, and then you come back and it'll be right.
Maybe it's just too fast for this.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm having problems too.
On the fire.
Huh. Okay, well that's a nice feature then. Well, all right. Well, now that we're back, let's go ahead and have these gentlemen from Google introduce themselves and tell us maybe a little bit about their own photography that they have going on.
Sure, why don't I start? So I'm AJ. I'm one of the PMs on Google Plus Photos. I've been at Google for just over a year. I actually wasn't into photography until I joined Google and joined the photos team, and I saw these people taking lots of photos, and I saw photos from you guys like Trey and Thomas and lots of other really awesome photographers, and started getting into it. I call my genre of photography friendtography. I go out with my friends and take photos of them, but not using a mobile phone, so they get all these really great photos that they can use afterwards and share, and lots of profile photos and stuff. So that's kind of what I do. I shoot with an NEX7, which is like awesome because it's super compact, and I love the viewfinder on it.
When he says great photos as friends, it's something of an exaggeration at times.
Hey, it's not. You
They
can't
are
blame
photos.
the content, right? The photos are good. It's not my fault about friends.
Maybe you need better friends.
Yeah. So that's me.
I'm Vincent. I'm a engineer and also a manager on G Plus Photos. I take mostly landscape photos, mainly because when we started doing all these photo walks on G Plus, we tended to go out to like landscapey places. But yeah, generally. Wherever I am, I'll take photos, and a lot of times that turns out to be landscape.
Cool. And I'm Dave Cohen. I'm a technical lead on Google Plus Photos. You can find me on Google Plus if you just search for Dave Cohen. I'll probably be one of the top results. What do I like taking photos of? I like doing landscapes. I like doing urban stuff. For a long time, I was into portrait photography, so sometimes I'll take out my umbrella, my flash, and I'll get fun photos of people kind of jumping around and things like that. But yeah, same thing like Vincent. Kind of, I try to go out and take photos when I can. So we don't have the leisure of being professionals like some people out there, but try to get out and do whatever we can.
You guys, when you do go out, you go hard though.
That's why we do most things. You know, we don't have a ton of free time.
Well, great. Thanks for those intros. Before we have these three guys from Google kind of give us the official word. I'm going to show people how they can ask questions and interact because we're monitoring everything live, okay? And, as far as your questions go, you can keep them just general in terms of Google Photo or maybe more specific about this Nik thing. But we'll just see where it goes. It's all quite open. So let me share my screen here. Click screen share and then jump over to my browser here. Okay, so anyway, if you're on stuckincustoms.com, we always have the embedded player up there. And I'm using Safari. Obviously, I don't have the right plugin because I normally use Chrome. But this should work just the same. This is Google Moderator, and anyone can use this to come in and submit a question. Like I'll do one right here, for example. Okay, I'm going to say something like, now Vincent already knows I'm going to ask this question because I ask him every time I see him. It's like, how can I share a single photo from an existing album? Actually, Vincent, I got this question several times today, so you guys will have to prepare an answer. So anyway, so I'm going to say submit. So what happens is that goes into the queue, and now everybody else will see this question, and you can vote it up or vote it down. Like for example, up here is a question. I can say, oh yes, I think that's a good question, or I can say no, that's not a good question. So on and so forth. Okay, and then anyway, the best questions will get voted up to the top, and we can kind of keep track of them like that. All right, let me unscreen share. Okay, so AJ and Vincent and Dave, Can you kind of give us the official word of what's been happening there at Google today?
Sure. So why don't I go ahead and do that? So some of you might have seen that there was an announcement from Vic today. We're really excited to announce that Nik Software is going to be a part of Google. So I think a bunch of you guys are very familiar with what they do. We're really excited about Nik because it covers a spectrum of users, everything from the professionals with all their really great plugins all the way through to the everyday consumer with things like Snapseed. And at Google, we really care about helping our users create the most beautiful photos and tell the really great stories using our tools. And we think that Nik was a really great fit in helping us to do that. So we're very, very excited to have them on board.
Excellent. Okay, well, that was a very nice, tight official statement. You know, that we've got a million other questions, and I understand that you guys probably are not allowed, and you don't have the latitude to speak freely on some of this stuff, as you know, since you're officially part of Google. Although I can assume, since you guys are hardcore photographers like the rest of us, that you also have these same questions, and you're thinking about them. And as far as we know, you may already have exact plans, and you may be executing on various plans. So, since you cannot officially answer some of our questions, maybe you could just nod your head or be curious. But I thought I'd use this opportunity to, you know, Thomas, Hawk, and I can kind of go back and forth and talk about it.
We can make up all kinds of stuff, right?
Starting with the purchase price.
Right.
Yeah, we can, Thomas. Well, one thing I noticed, Thomas, is that I've been watching techmeme.com, you know, which is kind of, I'm into tech news and that sort of stuff, and I like watching how all these people analyze it. And, you know, I would say that 99% of this bubble Silicon Valley press, they've got it wrong. They're all focusing on Snapseed, which to me is like a rounding error in the overall business of Nik Software.
Yeah, I mean, Snapseed, I mean, I think mobile is really important going forward, and I think mobile is important to Google+. I see this acquisition as powerful on a couple of different levels. I mean, first of all, and you wrote a very eloquent post and analysis today, better than anyone else that I saw out there, you know, and looking at how much computing is going to go on in the cloud in the future and how much processing is going to go on there. You know, Google bought Picnic and integrated a lot of that into Google+. And I think that's great. These aren't things that I use myself personally, because I do all my photo processing and Lightroom and all that. But I'm in the top echelon of photo processors. I think a lot of people just do it online and want to do it online and want to have a little thing to do. So, you know, I really think the bigger story is the more powerful Nik software suites and integrating that into online processing Google+.
Yeah, I've seen a few people compare this to Picnic, but I think that they're totally different classes. And, you know, that was several years ago. Here it's, you know, approaching the end of 2012. Everything changes pretty fast. And, you know, Nik is a completely different company than Picnic. You know, this is, you know, this is one that pretty much every professional photographer knows about. And they've got, like, you know, these world-class tools that, you know, you and I love. And I've been using these guys for years, so I'm super excited to see how it's going to empower the Google engine. How do you think we're going to first see this show up inside Google+?
You know, I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of I read a lot of the comments on a lot of the posts today, and it seemed like the biggest concern for people was, will this acquisition sort of doom these great professional software packages that we use? Okay. You know, so it's like these professional services that you and I love and use, you know, and you know, are those doomed now that Google will acquire them and shut them down? I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think they will. I think the future is enhancing our images in a lot of ways, and Nik has some of the best tools out there right now to enhance our images. And I think that what you and I are using sort of is more advanced photo processors. Pretty soon, you know, they want the rest of the 98% to use those tools as well and improve their photos in the same way. And that's what I see this as primarily, as a way to bring those sort of more advanced technical tools that we're using already to the masses.
It was really interesting for us because when we built G Plus Photos, we intended to build it for the common users, right? Like the people who just were out with their friends and took some photos at a party or whatever and wanted to share them. We built it primarily with those people in mind. Of course, some of us on the team are more enthusiastic about our photography and actually like going out and taking trips just for photography, that kind of thing. And so certain aspects of the product naturally lean towards, the way that we approach photography, and we want it to be beautiful, and we want to have big photos on the screen and that kind of thing. So even though we built it for the common user, it turned out that more serious photographers ended up really liking it too. So Picnic is sort of, it's nice and it works well for casual users. But in that, like you guys are saying, that's for like the casual user, and no serious photographer would really use that as an end product. This is, without going into any details, of course, Nik provides a level of image editing capability that we haven't had before, and it's sort of, it's interesting to me because it kind of mirrors that our progression in the product of building it initially for the casual users, but then it turns out that professionals are actually really interested in it too.
Yeah, the Google Plus photography community continues to be like one of the most active communities on Google Plus, so we always want to make sure that we're supporting that community, and we feel really lucky and super excited about having that community. And so, these are all steps towards being able to serve you guys as a community really well. And in the meantime, as we're doing that, we'll learn more and more about how to serve the everyday consumer so everyone can have beautiful photos and tell stories.
Yeah, the really neat thing about Nik is that they started out focusing on the professional, right? Like they had all these tools like Silver FX Pro and all these were geared towards more serious photographers, and they realized that at some point that the everyday casual photographer might be interested in some of these technologies, so they built Snapseed, and now that's a huge hit, right? So it's they kind of started. They've traveled a similar road, but kind of in the opposite direction from us.
So, and I understand that you guys probably may not either know the answer to this or aren't allowed to say or something along these lines, but this is, Thomas touched on it, and it's the #1 question I assume that both of us have been getting, and that is, what's going to happen to some of these client-side tools that we know and love? I can assume that a lot of their power is going to go into the cloud, for cloud processing, because I think that's a definite vector of photo processing in the future for the masses. But for the rest of us, should we be worried, or should we just wait a while and find out?
Well, so from our point of view, it's business as usual with Nik. So there's no need to worry. Like I said earlier, we really do care a tremendous amount about the photography community. We don't have any specific plans to announce at this time, but yeah, it's business as usual for Nik and the software they have.
All right, that's better than a non-answer. I like it.
Business as usual. Business as usual.
I have a feeling. Go ahead. Sorry.
What I think what is interesting is, I don't know how you guys feel, and the Instagram comparison was obviously, everywhere today as well. I know a lot of more serious photographers kind of bemoan these sort of cheap little Instagram filters that you just one touch add to your photo. But I actually think they're very interesting. I think they make photos look better for the average user, and I could certainly see that technology being integrated with some of Nik's sophisticated tools. But you look at that and you look at, if Google Plus is going to integrate some of these cool, I don't want to call them Instagram filters, but certainly with the backbone of Nik Software, they could do some pretty cool stuff for the common user, even beyond sort of the Snapseed stuff, I think. Some of the more advanced stuff. What's Flickr doing? They're kind of left out in the cold.
Yeah, they seem a little bit behind. Maybe they've got some things in the works.
They're playing with their new iPhone 5s.
Well, they have a new CEO, so who knows?
Yeah,
Yes.
have you talked to Marissa recently?
I don't know. In my post, I wrote, I like this FX Photo Studio Pro, which is Mac Fun. I think that they're, in a simplified version of almost Nik Software, and I wonder if they're not also an interesting software package to look at. But it does seem like it's all going online, doesn't it, Trey? That's what you wrote today. It's all going to the cloud.
I think that is clearly the direction of things, where a lot of processing is done in the cloud. Now, this seems inconceivable to a lot of people, that do everything client side, basically like you and me. But I actually think that there's a growing bifurcation. There's two types of photos that are going to become more and more defined as we go. There's still going to be the high-end cameras, these 20, 30, 40 megapixel cameras where we kind of make these sort of epic kind of shots. But also, I think that's going to be dwarfed by mobile photography. And, you can already say that now that we're using these Android phones or iPhones or whatever, it's really increased the velocity of the photos I take. Right now, I probably take 100 times more photos than I used to take. And just wait till Google Glass comes, and we have this automatically. Like, I was thinking about this yesterday. I was sitting outside here, and I was with my two daughters, and it's spring here in New Zealand, so we have flowers coming out around our garden. And my daughter ran over, and she got a flower, and she came up like close to my face, and she like put it behind my ear, And I remember that, but I'm afraid I'll forget that. But if I was wearing Google Glasses, you better believe I'd have it on, taking a photo every 5 seconds or every 10 seconds. And all of this stuff is going to be going up to the cloud. It's going to be another 100x multiplier on the number of photos we take, and it's just another class of photos. It's not the big epic professional photos, but they're just as important for memories. And as all of this content is going up to the web, we need some kind of efficient workflow so that these are automatically processed. The cloud will get to know us. It'll know the styles that I like. It'll know the filters that I like. And over time, I expect that it will start to learn my favorite kinds of photos. It'll learn those photos that are the best composed. It'll learn the photos where their eyes are open and they're smiling. It will start to know what I like. And having a powerful engine like Nik has made on the back end, powering the cloud and powering this self-curation of my life, I think that's a definite future of mankind.
And what would it take to get you to move all your photo processing online?
Well, it would have to be as fast as it is here on my computer. And there was a comment today on one of my threads, and it was very smart. I wish I could find the gentleman who said it. But I can't imagine that it could be quite fast enough with my my 30 megapixel RAW files, that it could be real time enough so that I feel the responsiveness as quickly as I do here on my dual 27-inch iMac monitors.
The other huge limitation to doing it online is simply storage. We all saw the flack that our friends over at SmugMug took for daring to increase their price. But sort of unlimited storage is a problem in a way. And I mean, right now I do my processing locally because it's faster for me to go through a Drobo connection, particularly now with Thunderbolt and whatnot, and to edit my photos locally than from the cloud. But even if I could from the cloud, am I going to store, is Google going to want to pay for me to store 10 terabytes of photos, of RAW files in the cloud? I mean, to me, that's a huge limitation, at least for me. And I realize I'm not the average user. I'm the cutting edge. But, I mean, Google can't even, or doesn't even now want to host my high-res, full-size JPEG images that I process, or can't. Or I don't know, can't, maybe the wrong word. So, what do you do as a photographer, and more with Google Glass and some of these other things, that it's, there's going to be even more megapixels, more photos, more storage. I mean, is storage a problem for the future? I mean, can we edit in the cloud with
Yeah, that's gonna be another thing. Do your post processing in the cloud?
Well, but to do your post-processing in the cloud, you have to have your photos in the cloud.
Yeah.
And is storage a problem for longer term?
I don't know. It could be a problem. I think right now it's untenable for me to take I think I probably have 6 terabytes of photos.
Right.
And I've got a really fast connection here in Queenstown, actually, of 30 megabits up and down. But still, it would take, I think, weeks or months for me to upload my stuff. So I'm not sure what the solution there is. It's a little bit of a problem, though. However, like I said, I'm okay with having giant, sort of epic photos locally, and then I can still tell very nice visual stories with smaller photos online. If you know what I mean.
Maybe as they solve 3D video live streaming, this will all become easy to do because the bandwidth will have to be there.
I would like to put in my vote to get the Google Gigabit Ethernet or Internet here in New Zealand.
I think if you think of the vision of Google Fiber long term, with the vision of processing your photos online, it's very doable, but just not right now. But it seems like they are working towards that for the future. That would be my guess.
Personally, I think it'd be great too if you didn't have to be in front of a giant desktop, right? If you could do it from your iPad or your tablet or whatever it is, even your phone, get the same kind of processing power and from any device. That'd be pretty cool.
I would like that. I do spend an inordinate amount of time processing on my phone because I'm always out and about, and I think when you're a photographer, you're always a photographer, and you're always taking photos of things. You want to share them. I'm on Path, for example. I put stuff on Path that I don't put anyplace else. And I'm always processing my photos, and I'm actually shocked at how much time I spend using apps on my phone, even though I've got these giant monitors, I've got fast computers at home, I've got all these tools. I still spend a pretty decent percentage of my life using this. And if there's more tools and it's faster, I might spend a bigger percentage of my life using this or my glass.
Just think of how awesome it'll be when Snapseed is integrated into your Android camera app and your Google Plus app.
Yes, that would be very nice.
I do some stuff on the phone too, but most of my serious work, I think, is from an original RAW file. And if you're working from an original RAW file, how can I edit an original RAW file online? I mean, I can't even host it.
Well, it would show you a non-RAW version to display it on the screen,
right,
but it would still be making the edits to the RAW.
If I upload a photo to Google Plus today, first of all, I can only upload a JPEG, so I can't work with RAW. So I lose a lot right there. Now, maybe this will all change in the future. But secondly, even the JPEG that I upload is significantly diminished. It's a much smaller JPEG than the original high-res. So do I want to edit that? The other issue, I think, with editing online is you want your edits to sit at the file level. I mean, you want the finished file to be something that you own. And this is one of the reasons why I don't geotag on services, for instance. I want to geotag at the file level. Because you want the properties to live with the photo, because maybe it's going to be in 10 different places online and not just on Google.
Yeah, I know. I'm worried about that too. I don't know if it'll ever be Valhalla for RAW files, because it is a little bit much to ask for us to upload our RAW files and then edit them online, because
it's huge. It's expensive.
Yeah, I don't care how. Even if I have Google Fiber. If in a pure Google Fiber, if I have a RAW file and I'm using the equivalent of a Lightroom RAW importer on the web, and if I slide that clarity slider to the right, it's still got to take a little while for me to see. I don't see how it could possibly be as fast as client side.
Well, maybe it'll load at client side libraries on your browser to make it make your machine still handle the processing power.
Never say never, though. I listened to an interview with Vic where he said that Google plans out 10 years into the future. So, I mean, you never know. All this stuff seems like impossible today, but think about years ago when we were all on 2400 baud modems.
Well, if you think about the way graphic cards initially worked, they would very much keep track of the individual pieces that you were touching and looking at the time. So even though your whole photo was on the cloud, if the editing software was very intelligent and kept a local cache copy of your whole photo and was very intelligent about where you were as you were touching things and things like that, it could drastically reduce the overall bandwidth for keeping the two of them in sync. That's a lot of intelligence.
That's true. I mean, that's a good point. I think we maybe our heads are too much in 2012, where we are used to moving a slider on in Lightroom and then waiting a few half seconds to see the result. But it does stand to reason that that delay drops away in the future, and you could have something mirrored on the client and the server, so it's unclear where the logic is taking place, but all you know is that you're ultimately making changes to a photo that exists locally and on the cloud.
I'm taking notes. You guys are doing a good job in this interview.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that your cloud copy could be behind real time. I mean, you're editing the local cache copy, and those are all getting queued up as edits, and will eventually be affected.
Now, I will say that this year, for the first time ever, finally, I felt like the client side is taking away all barriers to my processing. With this new MacBook Pro, with flash memory, with the speed that it's entailed, for the first time, I'm able to process my photos instantaneously with no delay of any kind on the client. And this year is the first year. Just this new computer is the first time I've ever really felt that way. That it's seamless.
Yeah,
hey,
it's
Thomas. Just a quick note about uploading JPEGs to Picasso Web or to your Google Plus account. Right. If you upload it directly into Google Plus, it scales it down to 2048. Right. But if you upload to Picasso Web, you can upload up to 50 megapixel.
You can, but see, here's the problem, Dave.
It takes away from your storage. Yeah.
If you go that way, you end up having to pay a lot of money.
Yes.
And so if I wanted to host the equivalent of what I'm hosting on Flickr right now for $24.95 a year, it would cost me, $2,000 a year on Google. So do I want to pay $2,000 a year to host my high-res photos?
Well, Google will say yes.
Well, no, I think this is a problem for Google, because I think Google has to think about what is the value of a photo and what is the value of storage on a photo, and should we treat, I think today Google looks at bits as bits as bits, and it's all treated equally. So it doesn't matter if I throw up 11,000 high-res photos of my cat that nobody will ever look at, that are horrible, and keep them private for myself only. That sort of storage is deemed in the same way as if I publish my work as an artist and it gets, thousands and thousands of views and theoretically brings people to Google+. That should be, I would think, more valuable content, and so should be possibly treated differently in terms of the pricing.
That's an interesting statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that Google might tier storage based on how widespread your sharing of it is.
Well, no, I mean, I think to the value, Google has to look at storage in terms of the value to Google. And if you can put up, I mean, Google Plus doesn't have ads today, so maybe that's hard to gauge. But in the future, there should be some promotional value of imagery. And, there should be a value to Google to have super high quality public imagery in the network, because it draws people into the network. It's a positive for the network versus private data that nobody can see that's just taking up space.
That's a really interesting thought, and I don't think anybody tiers that way today.
So now that we've kind of moved from our careless Nik speculation into general Google Photos stuff, I'm sure that our three Google gentlemen can answer some of this stuff. What are you guys able to say about this idea of storage and photos and these ideas that Thomas is talking about?
I hadn't thought about that, tiering it by how widely it's shared, but it's there's a couple things there. One is that if the photos cost less to store, if they're shared more widely. It's kind of opposite to like a photo that's shared more widely actually costs more for Google.
Right, but I think the value to Google.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think Thomas, you and I have had this chat before too, and I think what you're saying like makes a lot of sense, right? There is an intrinsic value to having good content in the network, right? And we want that to attract people. And obviously right now we're not really basing storage costs off that, but I think it is an interesting idea moving forward as we try to get more professional, let's try to get people with more content. Yeah, I think we do need to figure out ways to offset those costs to make it more attractive to upload more like high resolution photos.
Yeah. Or maybe not based on how widely it's shared, but how much it's liked and reshared by others or something.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool.
I mean, we should pay Trey for his photos.
Yeah. Well, I'm already getting my monthly check from Google. Trey, what about you?
Oh yeah, let me go buy another yacht. Hold on, just a moment.
No. I guess what I'm saying is, I mean, obviously, you know, certain imagery Google should want. Google should want the absolute best imagery, and when they get it, see, part of the problem is if you treat all imagery the same. So Google Plus today downsizes everything. If you treat for a lot of people, if it's pardon the language, but a crappy photo of your cat that nobody's ever going to look at, and the differences in the hair on the Tibby. No, I like Tibby.
Tibby probably doesn't look much bigger in at 1080p versus 480p.
Oh, right. But Trey, we were talking about this on Monday with Tom Anderson, and that is, in some cases, the downsizing makes a difference. I mean, you can look at a photo on Google Plus, and you could look at it, say, on Flickr, the original, and you could say, well, boy, that looks a lot better on Flickr. In some cases, not, but in some cases, it does. So, I think if Google's going to share a photo with, or if 40,000 people are going to look at a photo on Google Plus, let's just say, and you could choose, can they see the best possible version of it, or a less perfect version of it? Is there some value to Google in showing these people the best possible version of it? I would say yes.
Actually,
but I don't know how to solve that problem.
Because the photos that would tend to be more popular, there's not as many of them, right? Whereas the photos that like the crappy photos, there's tons of crappy photos because you whip out your cell phone and you take like shots of your friend, I don't know, drinking a beer or something. But those bits cost the same amount to store, but they're definitely worth a lot less, and there's a lot more of them.
But do they? Yeah. Because if the better photos are generating more traffic and generating more eyeballs to whatever you want to show them, ads or whatever it is, then those photos become more valuable to you.
I think that's what I mean. Like the valuable photos are much fewer.
The other thing to bear in mind as well is that while we think of like the intrinsic value of public photos, like really great looking photos of landscapes and things like that. Some photos just have a lot of sentimental value, right? So you may share photos with your family that have a huge amount of sentimental value that don't necessarily have a huge amount of public value. And we at Google want to make sure that we are building our community in such a way that you can still have these really great connections with the people you care about, as well as being able to show off your work if you're a professional photographer to a large user base. So we're always, walking that line between trying to make sure that we support you guys as a community, but also that our regular users that want to share a photo with their mom and dad or want to share a photo with their friends are also being supported too, because for us, they're, just as important too, because, we want to create a Google Plus that is for everyone. And so we're always thinking about like what the different ways of balancing that are. And so I think you guys raised some really interesting points, but at the same time, I think we try to make sure that we're always trying to serve like the large spectrum of users.
But even there, even among the photos that you upload for your private friends and family's consumption, there's some that are better than others, and even there are some that are more popular.
Oh, and I wish you guys had been a fly on the wall back at the beginning of Google Plus Photos days too, back when there was no free storage for any photo. And we were in these meetings and we're like, we want every photo everyone uploads to be free. And they look at us and they're like, no way, like that's never gonna happen. So I mean, I think just even having that for people, that any photo you take, you can upload and you can share, and you never have to worry about paying for anything, I think is really awesome.
Yeah, that was actually one of the that was one of the main motivators for downsizing in G Plus, is because we managed to at least get it to be where any photo that's 2048 or smaller doesn't count at all towards your quota, for the purpose of making sure that people would never have to stop uploading photos just because they ran out of quota. So the downsizing goes hand in hand with that.
And that's what makes that instant upload feature on mobile really popular as well, isn't it?
And I think that's a great first step and a great policy for the whole world to share on Google Plus, because you have to somehow you can't store Facebook, I mean anybody with this large of a photo depository, you can't store everybody's high-res files forever unlimited. It's not economically feasible. So, I don't know. I've always thought that the answer is, and I could be totally off here, but, is if you put a pay speed bump in the way, you're going to filter out 98% of the people that say they want high-res versions of their photos that really, they don't care if they're high-res or not. The problem is if you ask people, do you want your high-res versions of your photos on Google+, 98% of the people will say, yeah, sure, if it's free, why not? But as soon as you start saying, okay, but you have to pay $30 a year, then you lose 98% of the riffraff anyway. Still let them upload for free for the downsize, for the downsample. But for those of us that are artists and that feel, like Tom was saying last week, Trey, he was disappointed because, his photo looked downsized and this and that. For those of us that it is important to us, $30 is nothing. It's a small price to pay. But it's enough of a speed bump, I think, to prevent the 99% of people that don't really need it or want it.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. I think Tom's issue might be different. Like, we're always going to have to resample images to serve them, right? You're never going to serve them full size. So if he's having issues with that, that's kind of a different question we could probably look into.
Well, no, it's not just that. I mean, I've published images before as well, and even at the highest possible size that Google Plus will show, there's like noise and there's artifacting and there's problems with the image. I believe because it's downsized versus the exact same image, say on Flickr, which isn't downsized. And now maybe it's an algorithm thing, or maybe it's some sort of technology thing. But I think if Google was working from an original image, it'd be interesting to try to upload an original image and compare it versus a downsized image. See if I uploaded an original Prakarsa and compared it to Google Plus's downsized image, if there's that much of a difference. And it's weird because 9 times out of 10 it's not at all an issue, but it'll be that one time when it's, for whatever reason, and I still don't understand it, that the noise is just insane.
In those cases, have you tried downsizing it before uploading it?
I haven't, but maybe I should. The exact same problems on the exact same photos are at Facebook. So I have a feeling that there's something to do with the resizing, and that's exactly what the engineers at Facebook said. They said resize it to 20.
I think it would if you did it yourself, it'd be better, because I think what's happening is that the Google Chrome or the uploader, whatever web uploader it is, it's doing the compression, and I think it just has a bad compression algorithm that was written by some second-year computer science student.
But I still think, Trey, I still think that if you or I chose to pay $30 a year to Google, or whatever the speed bump was, maybe it's $60, I don't know what the number is.
Yeah.
That we should be able to have full high-res photos.
Well, I think you're right on there, and maybe they're afraid to start charging money because they think, oh, look, Google just wants to take our money now. But I think if they couch it in a sense like, okay, this is a service for professional photographers. Obviously, they're interested in professional photographers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have bought Nik Software. And if they were to extend this service to people like you and me, it's okay. So professional photographers, if you guys want your photos to look as good as possible on the web, if you want this to be, the ultimate digital Valhalla of your digital imagery, pay us $30 a year, and we'll give you world-class service digital imaging of your photos. And I don't think anyone would take negatively to that. Photographers like you and me would be excited that finally we get an extra tier of service because we're willing to pay more because it is important to like you and me and not even professionals. Like Tom would never consider himself a professional. He just wants his stuff to look as good as possible.
I'm not sure Tom could afford the $30 a year, though.
Yeah, he'd have to dig deep into that Murdoch money.
In his case, you might have to charge $300 a year. In fact. No, I'm kidding. You know, Trey, I think that's a great idea. I mean, that could be one solution, is to figure that out. But you know, the other issue that back to Vic Gundotra plans 10 years into the future for Google. You know, I still believe, and I've been pushing this line of logic for months now, that Google has such huge potential in the stock photography business. And you know, if you're going to be in the stock photography business, and even though Vincent and Dave and AJ will probably all deny that Google will ever be in the stock photography business, but if Google is possible, it could be that they could be in the future someday. You want those high-resolution images because that's what you have to have if you're going to sell them as stock. And so I still think there's also another benefit to having these high-res images from professional photographers, from high-quality photographers, in that later on, if you should decide, okay, yes, we are going to turn the monetization switch on this, and you know, Flickr's turned it on in a super, you know, half-hearted way by partnering with Getty and stealing 80% of our money. But if Google is ever going to come up with some sort of strategy to monetize that side of this, and I think there's a huge potential to monetize our images through Google, particularly since they own Google Images, Google Image Search, and that's where people go to look for stock photography. They should do everything they can to get us to put our high-res images there now.
It's true, because I feel like you know how long it takes to actually upload images to the web. I've spent, you know, cumulatively probably weeks uploading low quality images to Google+, and if I'm going to go replace all of those with high quality ones later, that would take probably twice as long because I'd have to do a lot of finding and locating and swapping. And,
right.
Yeah. Yes. Well, so let me. Hey,
so that's another motive.
Sorry, Thomas. Let me interrupt you. We've got a lot of questions flowing in here on the on stuckincustoms.com. Here's one of the most upvoted questions. I'm saying that just because it happens to come from New Zealand. I'm not picking favorites. This comes from Wellington, New Zealand. A gentleman named TJ. It could be a gal named TJ. A butch gal. A butch Kiwi Wellington gal. Anyway, the question is. And this is Nik Software. And if you guys can't answer, that's okay. Then Thomas and I will speculate.
I'll answer. I'll speak.
Okay, so to the three amigos there, Dusty, what were their names? The three amigos? There was Dusty Bottoms, Ned Niederlander, and what was the other guy's name?
I'm amazed you remember that.
Was that a Woody Allen film?
No, come on. It's Chevy Chase and
Lucky Day. Lucky
Yeah.
Day is the
Lucky Day. That's right. That was Steve Martin's character. Okay, anyway, sorry. The question is, quote, would Nik Software become free to use now? Question mark.
We don't have any plans to announce at this time about that.
We can't say.
Thomas, what do you think?
I missed the question. I'm sorry.
Sorry. Would Nik Software effectively become free to use now?
How amazing would that be? Yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. I was talking offline earlier with Brian Rose, and he spilled the whole plans. You laid them out. Nik Software is going to be free. No, but you know what? Hey, I tell you what. How about taking the power of Nik Software, putting it in the cloud, and giving it to everyone for free?
Yeah.
Putting it on Android too.
Yeah. I mean, why not, right? I mean,
I think a very big subset of the Nik Software will become free, like their black and white tools, and they've got a very competent HDR product, and all of the filters from ColorFX Pro. I wouldn't be surprised if a pretty good subset of that was available on the web for free to a billion plus people on the web.
God, they do amazing black and white conversion work. I mean, it's really nice stuff. But Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, the beautiful thing about Google, and this is one of the things that I just love about Google. I mean, talk about Google Plus, right? Okay, it's free. There's no ads. There's no ads anywhere on Google Plus. It's free. How could a company possibly give us this wonderful, great product that they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on for free? Well, the beautiful thing about Google is they subsidize so much of what they do with all this cash cow of AdSense that just kind of pours in every day. So, yeah, I mean, they could turn around and give us Nik Software for free. That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. I
mean, at least that's what Vincent Mo told me before the show started.
I told him it would be awesome.
That and the $400 million price tag that Google had to pay for themselves, which is again a joke, which is not.
At the very least, I would hope that the tools would become cheaper. Right now, I think they're priced a little bit high. All the plugins and whatnot.
I do have to say, having been an engineer at Google for a few years, it has been really fun, like building stuff just with the user in mind. Like, what would be a great product, and just build it without having to think about how are we going to support ourselves, right? So it does make a difference in the way that we build stuff, and it's the same with G+. You know, it's like we're not thinking every day about like, oh, how are we going to make money on this thing? It's just, it really is just how do we make the best product we can.
See, that's amazing. It's amazing to have the luxury to be able to do that. And sure, maybe someday Google Plus will have ads. I mean, I fully expect that. Or somehow Google will do something with it. But, you know, to have the liberty, to have the freedom as a developer, as an engineer, as a designer, to create some really cool thing, I think that's awesome. And I mean, it's similar with Nik. Why not give it away? I think there'll be some sort of free form of Nik that bubbles down to the masses.
Yeah, I think so too. By the way, I'm getting some tweets and comments and questions and whatnot that this panel is a little stacked pro Google, and well, of course, you know,
I bet you were going to say you're going to get tweets that it's stacked pro dudes. Where are the chicks tonight?
That's for sure.
Viewership's going to be 50% of the normal show, Trey.
Yeah, I know. That was my bad. So, well, I thought maybe Google might have invited a few gals, but they didn't. Anyway, so I am not a journalist, nor have I ever claimed to be one. I'm just a technology photography enthusiast, and I think anything that has to do with technology and photography and what turns out to be like this new great renaissance of hundreds of millions into the billions of people taking interesting photos and making art and being creative on their own. This is it's a fantastic. There's all kinds of things happening underneath the undercurrent of humankind, and this is very, very exciting. So that's why it's technology and Google. All this happens to go hand in hand with creativity and self-expression online, and so it's I'm all for it. I don't mind stacking the panel with people that agree with me in this sense. So there is a question here for you three. This is a very serious question. This comes from a gentleman named Gino, and he says, you three guys, Dave, Vincent, and AJ, if you guys were to form a boy band, what would your name be?
We've actually definitely before we launched G+, we've actually talked about making a photos band. There are a few of us who play instruments.
It would definitely be a boy band too.
Yeah, boy band. Yeah, you'd have to have a dance routine.
Can boy bands play instruments? Is that okay?
They can play. They just can't sing. They have to lip sync.
Yeah. Oh God.
We had some names at one point, right? Do you remember what they were?
I don't know if it's time to break the news, but we actually.
Yes, it is.
And it's 8 o'clock. Okay, everybody.
Internally, we actually call ourselves sometimes, if unofficially, the party team.
So I guess it would be the party people then, right?
Do you want to explain that, or
So,
you just leave it like that?
So originally, our team was responsible for just the photo stuff on G+, but then later on, do you remember the little YouTube icon that showed up on the top right?
Yes.
You could hover over it.
Isn't that like a month?
I used to make so much fun of that.
So our team built that, and then later on, our team also built G+ events, and we were just talking about how, like, with a few more features, like, automatically ordering pizza for you and stuff, and like some calendar integration, we could just like have like a one-click party button, and we became unofficially the party team.
Nice. Well, of course, because Google Events was totally developed for photo walks.
Pretty much.
I mean, it's like
I thought it was developed for Hangouts.
if you were to design the perfect photo walk module, what would it look like? Google Events.
Yeah.
Well, we try very hard to make it very photocentric, because we just think like that's one of the things when we looked around at like what events look like right now before we started working on it, we just noticed that like no one focused enough about the photos, right? And so we tried to create a product which wasn't just about before the event or during the event or after the event, but all three of those stages. So we try to make it really easy for you to organize your event, and then afterwards, like, really easy to consume the photos as well. So it was a very important part, and I think that's one of the things, because it came out of the photos team, we focused a lot on making that experience really good.
And we always thought the whole way through, we're like, what would Thomas Hawk want here?
Right. Yes. Thomas Hawk would like Supersetter.
So wait,
Thomas Hawk would like wine delivery button.
Albums organized by keywords and wine delivery button. Cheers.
So, speaking of albums, it just so happens that my question that I ask has been upvoted to a significant degree, so that I can ask it now. And even though I just asked Vincent in person like 1 week ago, exactly, I think, maybe he has a better answer for me now. The question, just to refresh your memory, or maybe one of your compatriots on the right or left can give me a superior answer. And it is...
Unless we need to... Are we allowed to confer?
Yeah, this will be like Whiz Quiz. Okay, so the question is, how do I share a single photo from an existing album? Because this has changed in the past 3 weeks. What I used to be able to do, my previous system, which used to work, was to go, I have this one mega album. Of course, I like having one mega album because when I share a photo, I like for people to go into the album and then be able to see my other photos. You can't do that when it goes into a photo from a post. It's just sort of a dead end. So anyway, I used to go into Prakarsa and I would get the link to the actual photo. I would put that into a new post. It would put the photo down below, and then I could say something about the photo. And it would take people into that album as a gateway, a portal into that album, and then they could start surfing through my other photos. Now it's impossible to do that. And whenever I were to pluck out an individual photo, now it makes a copy of the photo and puts it into a new album, which is distressing.
Say that is not true. That is what happens.
Yes.
Oh my God. The tragedy.
Yes. Why, Google? Why?
He got my answer. He didn't like it, so
wait, what was
he's
your
looking
answer?
for a better answer.
So I can rephrase it.
Okay, caller, can you repeat the question?
Wait, so the question, once again, as they assemble their thoughts, is how do I take a photo from an album and share that one photo?
Well,
why does every album say it only has one photo in it when it has a lot more?
Oh,
that's a separate question. Let's not.
I'm confused.
So the way I share photos is I do have an album that I like to keep, with all the photos I post in it, so that for the same reason when people click through, they don't hit a dead end, but they can go through the rest of the album. But the way I do it is I go to the album and I add a photo to it. Once you've finished uploading the photo to it, it asks you if you want to share it. And if you share from that dialogue, you end up with a post with just that photo in it, shown, as big as the photo can be on the stream. And then when you click on it, it shows the rest of the album. So I think the problem that Trey was running into is if you want to reshare again a photo that's already in the album, right? In that case, when you do it from the Lightbox, you click that little green share button. In that case, it makes a copy of it.
Yeah, and the kind of, so I understand like the behavior you're looking for. I mean, kind of the idea behind it originally was that you might want to fork the conversations. You want to share something to your family, to your friends, share it publicly, and you don't necessarily, when you go into the photo, want that same comment thread from the original place where you had a comment before.
Yes, I think I understand your reasoning, although this whole system that you came up with seems to be an edge case in which you sometimes share a photo to the public and then you want to fork the conversation and have a different conversation with a limited group of people. I think that's such a rare situation that that's ended up making all these copies of my photos all over the place. Like, for example, today I made this post about Nik Software, and I thought, okay, well, I want to share this photo that I processed with Nik Software. So I went into my post. But then I started scrolling through, and it loads slow. I do have a lot of photos in my album. I guess that's my fault. But I never found it, so I went ahead and I went and uploaded another version of it. So it just feels clumsy.
Yeah, and I think most people want. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think most people prioritize. They want all their comments in one spot. They don't want to fork all their comments into 3 or 4 different photos. And then I think you can do what Trey does on other platforms. I think you can do that in Facebook and Flickr. You can still reshare. So it's kind of different now.
That's good. That's good feedback.
I think what you should do, Trey, is get all those people who upvoted that question on your moderator and have them send feedback about it so that it shows up at the top of our list of requests.
Okay, well, I'm not one for organizing a letter writing campaign, but I will for this feature that I care.
Honestly, that actually makes a difference. Like a lot of the stuff that we've built is because a lot of people request it.
Send feedback is your friend.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we always have like 100 different things we can build at any one time, including stuff we want to build, stuff our users want, and we're always trying to work out what to do next. And there's lots of different reasons for picking which feature we should work on next, but one that really does stand out is how many people keep telling us that we want this. Mm-hmm. So definitely send us feedback.
So I wrote a post about this a while ago. It might be a good time to repost it for all the new people on Google+. But every week we actually get reports from the people who take and collect that feedback, and they organize it, and they send us a list of the top 10 user feedback pieces. And the things that are in that list actually get done pretty quickly. So when things are a big enough problem for enough people, or a big enough feature request or feedback or whatever it is, we do get to it. So definitely get people to send that feedback.
All right, very good. So let's start sharing some of our Google Plus discoveries. I've got 3 here that I'm ready to share. I'll kind of rip through them if you guys can get yours ready too. Thomas, did you have any final questions you wanted to ask these 3 gentlemen?
Fine, young gentlemen. They're doing a wonderful job. I wholeheartedly support their fine work with this fine product, Google Plus. We love it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great job. A great job.
I concur.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here, and I'll share my three people I wanted to share with the world. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. This is a gentleman named Ryan Dyar, and of course we will plus mention all these people when we repost the show. But he is certainly my kind of guy because he is a landscape photographer, and I love the epic feel of his photos.
Now it looks like he's using the Trey Ratcliff Lightroom filters, isn't he?
That is not an official sponsor of this show, but thank you.
He's using the Trey Ratcliff Lightroom preset package that can be bought at stuckincustoms.com.
Thank you for that, Thomas Hawk. That is available, and it's selling very well. We haven't had a single return. People love that thing.
Good.
Thank you very much, Thomas. But no,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's using his own filters and his own techniques. I would not assume that he would use my filters. Okay, here's number 2. This is a gal named Isabelle Lafrance, which sounds like a fake name, but it could be real. She takes very interesting photos as well, all kinds of different styles. She has many albums here that we could show you, but I kind of picked this one to show. All right, and then one more. Sorry, I'm copying and pasting. I had all this stuff open in Chrome before my Chrome went kaput, so I'm pasting this in here. And this is the last one that I'll share. This comes from someone named Rarindra Prakarsa, sort of an Indian-sounding name. Or maybe it's Indonesian. I believe some of these shots are from Indonesia. Anyway, another great photographer that I think you guys should circle and follow. Some excellent work here as well. All right, very good. So I will unscreen share. Thomas, do you have a few you might want to share with us?
Of course, you know I do.
All right.
So, let's see here. Is this working?
Yes.
You see this? Okay, so the first person I'm going to share is Shannon S. Myers. And I'm actually going to blow a couple of these up and just filter through them.
Oh, very nice. I saw a
Beautiful. I love the abstraction. I love the depth of field that she does. It's wonderful, wonderful work. So very, very, very. There is a processing style to her work, but overall, just very dramatic photographs, which I like. The second person I'm going to show is Roger Clark. Roger Clark does some wonderful photos. Again, I love like portraits like this old timer. Interesting stuff. There's a lot of dogs.
I see she's wearing a pearl necklace, Thomas.
Ah, you're a very observant there, Trey.
Yeah.
A lot of portraits, and you know how I feel about watermarks and all that, but I'm even though this person watermarks, the dog photos are amazing.
Do you have any photos of you when you had your baby without your shirt, Thomas?
Yes, I do.
I would like to see some of those.
The next, we'll talk about that another day. The next person on the show is the Toby Harriman, who is a local San Francisco shooter, and he's been to many of our photo walks. I think, Dave, you and Vincent know Toby, right?
Yeah, I think we've met.
But it's a lot of my familiar territory. He caught that great double rainbow we had in San Francisco the other day. But very dramatic stuff and interesting. Toby Harriman. That could be a Trey Ratcliff preset photo right there. And then finally, I'm going to show one more, is Nik Stankus. Nik, who I had the pleasure of shooting with last year in St. Louis. I'm going to St. Louis again next month to shoot. In fact, Nik took this photo here with my lens, I think, my fisheye, my 8-15 fisheye. And this is an abandoned building we explored together. But Nik is a wonderful photographer who I've known for years, going back to the Flickr days and all that. But he's got, in fact, there's a picture of me in his album. That's me with a little camera looking up at the arch. Here I am again. Hey. But Nik is a wonderful photographer who I would encourage everybody to check out. He does some great work. Anyways, there you go.
Cool. Great ones, Thomas. Thank you. Now let's see what the three Googlers have for us.
Yeah, let's see, screen share.
This will be quite the honor for whoever you mentioned to be mentioned by someone within the hallowed halls of Google. I think you are going to...
So we ran algorithms over all our data. We found the absolute best.
Definitively.
So this is actually a guy who recently joined our team.
Shameless plug.
So he's a friend, Aravind Krishnaswamy, but not a lot of people follow him yet. But he does some really good wildlife photography.
Where did you work before?
He used to work at Adobe.
Ah.
Whoa.
So you're saying that next after Nick, Google will be acquiring Adobe?
You heard it here first.
Lightroom in the cloud.
An unreliable source.
Are you saying Lightroom will be free for everybody going forward? I love that.
Yeah, so he has these amazing photos. He goes on these safaris because he has friends in the photography world who teach workshops and stuff. And so he's promised us that he would take us on one day. But he's really good.
And I would have featured him except for all his watermarks.
Yeah.
So, I hope you're watching.
we need to work on him on that.
Could Google invent a little tool with this new photo editing software we have coming out where you could kind of clone that out?
The watermark.
The watermark removal filter.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's like the unsharp mask with the the unwatermark mask.
Send feedback.
Right. Just turn on the delete watermark filter screen, and all photos on Google Plus now become watermarked.
Yeah.
And by the way, where is the feedback button now on the Google Plus pages? You probably should
so
explain
if you click on the little cog on the top of the top right of any page, you will see it there. And if you click that, it says send feedback. And you just click on that, and then send us your feedback.
Cool.
Right there.
Top right.
Send feedback.
Cool. By the way, AJ, there are several females in our audience that adore your voice.
Not just the females.
Whoa!
His voice too.
Yes.
I've been working on it for the interview.
Actually, one of my favorite things that AJ does is his American impression.
Let's not do that.
American impression of the word water.
Let's hear it, AJ.
I don't want to offend anybody. Anyway, so no, when I actually came to America like 4 years ago, I used to order water, and no one understood what I said, so I had to learn how to say it the American way. So now when people ask what you want to drink, I always say water. Water.
That's exactly how the rest of us say it. So. Another guy that I really like is this guy named Henrik Godsk Hansen. Godsk Hansen. I have a hard time with his name, but his photos are great. He hasn't posted a lot, and he only has like 151 followers. So yeah, I think he needs some encouragement to post more. But he's only got like a few posts, but a couple of them are like really good photos. So like
wow. I mean, Vincent Mo said that he now has 300 followers.
Yeah.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, I like what he does with the eyes.
Yeah, like this one. Yeah, I like.
That's great.
Yeah, and apparently he does like people. He has some photos of people, and he has some landscapes. Yeah.
So this is Dave. I'll do a couple people I like. Let's see. This is Arthur Chang. He lives in San Francisco, and I met him at the Death Valley photo walk we did with Google+. But I've also met him, a couple different times for doing other things. I really love his style. Like I know he shoots digital, and I'm not sure about these photos in particular. But I really like how it kind of looks like film. You get this grain. You get like a really nice kind of aged kind of sepia look. So I really like the emotion he invokes in these photos. And Thomas, I'm sure you like the square crop.
Yes, I love the square crop.
He always tags his posts with iPhoneography or SLR-ography.
Yeah, so his stuff is it's a self-portrait. His stuff is really nice. So definitely check him out. There's also this other guy, and oops, wrong one. So I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name. It looks like Koentjoro. Hopefully that was close. And I suspect he uses film, but I'm not 100% sure. It's not in the exit data. But again, he has like a lot of black and white. He has a lot of really good kind of mood to it. Like I love like the motion capture in that one. Kind of the textures. So
wow.
Yeah, so this stuff's really great as well. All right, anybody else?
I think that was it from us.
Okay, great. You guys can unscreen share now if you'd like. We can wave goodbye to you. Well, I guess that brings the show to a close. Don't you think, Thomas?
No, say it's not true.
It's true. We've got to let these Googlers get back to work. They can't just sit here and entertain our ridiculous rambling.
Yes, I know. They need to figure out how you can share a photo from an album, or what was? No, is it album from a photo? What is it?
That's the problem. It's so hard to describe.
Yeah, you guys have to decide what you want first, and then let us know.
We're gonna implement the opposite thing, and then it won't help anybody.
You know, users, we don't know what we want. Just give us what you think we want.
That's what we did.
You know, and I was thinking that, you know, as they keep track of the most popular suggested feedback requests and they bubble to the top, you really don't get a feel for how many people would not like it if that change got made. You only hear from the people who have an idea, not how many people are happy with the way thing is. So, you know, it's too bad these things can't go out to the public and people vote on them up and down a little bit somehow.
Well, we definitely have the reverse too. You know, we've implemented like a high priority kind of thing everyone wants fixed, and then there's always, you know, there's people who like it every way, right? So you kind of just try to make your best guesses and then make the most people happy.
Yep. And we also don't, I mean, we take it as one of the signals, but we also do a lot of different types of user research, and obviously there's lots of different strategical things we're working on as well. So it's a combination of a lot of different things that determines it, but definitely, like Dave said, we're reminded every single week of those top user feedback items. So it's definitely front of mind when we see it on that list.
And while Vic thinks 10 years ahead, our team thinks at least probably a year ahead. So I mean, there are also things people want that, you know, might not make sense for our long-term strategy. So there's kind of a lot of factors that go into it, but definitely getting the feedback is very important.
Well, cool. Thank you guys very much. We can hardly wait to see who you buy next week. We'll have another show. And yeah, seriously, guys, thanks for your hard work and all that good stuff. It was fun to have you on here and see you and put some faces and photos behind the names. So thank you very much. We'll wrap it up here. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. We'll be back next week with another show. And actually, Dave and I didn't introduce Dave. I'm sorry, Dave, over there.
That's
hey,
right.
Dave, how are you?
Hey. Pretty good.
Good. Yeah, so Dave and I, he's my erstwhile Parspatu producer, and we have a number of great shows lined up in the upcoming weeks. A very interesting Parisian surprise coming up in 2 weeks for those of you that love Paris as much as I do.
With
there may or may not be a trip involved. We'll see. We'll see.
You and Kim Pemberton are going to Paris?
No, that's not. Does she live there?
No, I don't think so. I thought you were taking her.
Oh no, I don't know. Maybe she has an offer out there for me. I'll have to check my email. It's interesting. And I also, sorry, we got started in such a rush with all the activity. I know Keith was having some trouble getting this up on his vidcast network. Keith, are we up and live now?
Yeah, we've been up and live stable the entire time, although you had some problems where you dropped out and came back too.
I did. I had some big troubles, and throughout all that, I never really got a hold of if we were on your. Anything you want to plug about your vidcast network while we got you here?
Nope, it's still there, ready to live stream Hangouts and other shows or podcasts. If people are interested, feel free to contact me. And thank you so much, Trey, for your support and having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for being around and rebroadcasting this thing. It's fun for everybody. The more people that engage in the new world of photography, the better for everybody, I think. So it's great. Okay, well, thanks again, everyone, for watching. Thanks to all the great guests, and we will see you again next week. Bye. Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.